we're going to begin with the base. Now, I actually created a foam base for my bungalow, but you can make one. We're going to include it, kind of like we did with the lighthouse. It's, you know, if you want to make it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. So this is the little template. You're going to put this on your foam core. And what I'm going to do here, I put mine in the corner here so I don't have to trim two of the sides, and just draw a line on the other two sides, like so. Okay, so you've got, it's almost a square, not quite. Okay, and grab yourself a box cutter, X-Acto, whatever it is you have, and let's begin cutting this out. So this is just going to provide a nice sturdy structure for our little bungalow. There we go. Okay. There we have it. And we're going to grab these two pieces. I believe this is either sage or oregano. And we have these four pieces. This is what makes up the walls. And then, of course, we have a little fence that goes around there, and we have a little walkway. Okay, let's begin by putting together the little wall pieces first. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, you'll notice that two of them have a set of tabs and two do not. And we're just going to go back and forth, alternating between no tab and tab. Okay. And let's begin by just putting glue on this little triangular tab. You can actually put this down flat, grab a piece that does not have a tab, and just line that up right next to it. Make sure that those score marks are lined up as well, and then take it and fold it onto itself, and make sure that these tabs here are lined up. They should be perfectly flush, and then just give that a press. Okay, so we've got two pieces connected. You see we have a tab here. So we're going to grab this piece with no tab and apply glue to the little triangular tab. Go easy on the glue there. Flatten it out with your finger. Make sure your fingers stay clean throughout the whole process. Then grab the piece with no tab and line it up just like we did last time. Press that down, give it a few seconds, and then take it, fold it over onto itself, and just again make sure that those tabs on the side here are nice and flush. There we go. Okay, so we have three pieces connected. We'll work our way over to this end here. Actually, let's flip it over this way. It's just easier that way. And apply your glue to the tab here. Make sure you get it all the way out to the edge. Let's put that down flat on our surface and press that into place like so. Give that a few seconds, and then again you can take it, fold it onto itself. Be very careful not to break the other parts apart. Okay, and then you can bring this in. Actually fold this like so, just so that it's taking up less room on your table. Add that glue. I just opened up a fresh bottle because I know I'm going to need it for this project. Okay, all right, so just make sure that you don't jump the gun here and that everything is nice and set as far as the glue goes before you start jostling this thing around, because those tabs are kind of skinny. So you want to make sure that you don't rush it and then it ends up coming apart. Okay, you can then begin flattening these out very gently. Again, give it a few extra seconds just to make sure that everything is holding nicely. You can flip it over. And just to help keep this thing from changing shape too much, you can keep it a little more rigid, just slide the little piece of foam in there, and now we also have a nice little structure to work on. And it'll prevent the entire structure from collapsing on itself. especially when you're pushing down on those little side walls. Okay, we're gonna put the bottom or top, doesn't matter which one it is. Now remember, this is a rectangle. Okay, so it's not gonna work this way. You can see it's kind of short, so make sure that you have it set the right way. And we're gonna anchor this on one side first. So let's go ahead and begin applying glue to one of the tabs. And I'm gonna spread that glue out to the very edge, like so. And then we'll take this and just get that nice and aligned, centered, right up to the very edge of that little tab. Make sure it's nice and centered. There we go. Press that down. The great thing about having that foam in there is that you can really push down and it makes this so much easier. Okay, so it's pretty thin, but again, we just want a nice solid structure for our little bungalow to live on. Okay, so make sure that's set. We can flip this out of the way for a second. Okay, just very carefully. And since it's a pretty heavy little piece of paper holding onto a small tab, I would probably hold it with one hand. I wouldn't let it go because it may, depending on how much time you gave that tab to dry, it may want to come apart, so just be careful. Apply your glue to the remaining 3 tabs and begin spreading that glue out to the very edge of each of the tabs. And I'm kind of getting glue all over the place right now because I'm using one hand, and that's okay. Now this release was a little bit delayed because of the complexity. Or it's really not complex, just a lot of detail. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this up. Focus on getting it aligned with this side, opposite of the side that is already connected. Get that out there first. If you have to kind of nudge the wall in a little bit, that's totally normal. And then move on over to the other sides and push the walls in a little bit if necessary. And then press that down. Okay. And finish it up on this side. Now, if we don't get it perfect, it's okay. You can always go in and kind of clean up the edges with some additional glue using my little painting method, which I'll share with you here in just a second. Okay, so if you have any little gaps, grab yourself a scrap piece of paper like this and just tuck it in between the 2 little areas, this piece and the actual wall, and then just press that down right in that little spot that maybe just isn't sitting completely flush. And just kind of go around and just make sure that it looks good all the way around. You know, sometimes either it's the last side that you push down and the glue just started to kind of set prematurely. That happens, and that's okay. It's all part of the process. It happens. Okay, and I've got this side here that also needs a little extra love. And just a little bit of glue will help fix that up. Just press and hold that down for a few extra moments until you're happy with that first section. Okay, I'm gonna throw a little extra glue here. So once we have this in, we're gonna flip it over and we're gonna put the other side on. Obviously, can't just leave it open. Okay, so that side looks good. I'm probably gonna call that the bottom since it doesn't need to look as perfect. And now we're gonna do the top. And this should go together a lot easier since the bottom's already in place. This won't be moving around as much. And again, get that glue out to the very edge of the tab. Let's get that anchored first. Okay. Get it nice and centered right out to the very edge of that tab. Helps to kind of push that wall in a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Try not to let too much time lapse on there because that glue will eventually not be as sticky, and then you'll have to go in and kind of clean things up, but that's okay. just the base, not a big deal. And remember, this is Halloween, so things can get a little wonky, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay, all right, so now I think that, I'll fold that back. I think those tabs are pretty strong now. And we do the same thing here. Apply our glue to the 3 remaining tabs. Go a little bit heavier here. And spread that glue out to the very edge. Nice and easy. There we go. And we'll close it up. Pop that in there. If you need to kind of nudge the sidewalls in a little bit, same with the front. Just work your finger around the perimeter and notice that this is the piece that has the little F right here for the front. It's where the walkway is going to go. And there's also a little marker there to help with the placement of other elements, which we'll discuss later. Okay, just keep pressing that down all the way around. There we go. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. These 2 are going to go to the front. We'll put those on almost last. This little guy here that has tabs, there's 2 sections that have tabs on them. These 2, these are going to go on the sides. It doesn't really matter which side since they're both the same size. This little guy that has this little gap back here is going to go in the back. The reason it has that gap is so that you can actually access the little door to put your little tea light in. And then you have 2 of these. One's a little bit longer, one's a little bit shorter. Longer one on the left, smaller one on the right. Okay, so we do need to start by putting the pieces with the tabs on first. And as you can see here, the, what's it called? The thickness of this bottom section is the same thickness as this guy here. Okay, so I just noticed that I have a few tiny little gaps there that I'm going to fix before I move on, just because I'm not a big fan of those little gaps. I'll just paint a little extra glue right in there, and that should hold it. Okay. All right, so again, what you can do to make it easier is just take and apply glue to the full length of this little section. Spread that glue nice and thin, and then take this piece and just pop that right up against that side. Make sure it's nice and centered, and make sure those tabs are folded and going across onto the other side, onto this side and the other side. Okay, so we're going to head over to the other side now and do the same thing. Apply our glue to the full length of this piece, of this little section. I guess technically you don't have to do that where you spread the glue out, but I just think it holds things better. Okay, so make sure that's lined up and that those tabs are then making their way towards the front and back. Make sure it's flush with the bottom. Just like that. And press that into place. Like so. Okay, there we go. All right, so now remember, this is the front here. This is where you have your little doorway. Okay, and so this little guy is gonna go right here. We're gonna, first, what you can do is take and apply a little bit of glue to this tab here, and then simply join these 2 sections together. You can see how the little tab is actually the shape of that little end cap, that little post there. So make sure that's in place. And then, just to be safe, rather than putting glue on the actual base, just go ahead and put some glue on the bottom of this guy, like so. Make sure you get some right out to the end. And we'll take it and press it up against the front, making sure that it's nice and flush with the bottom, like so. There we go, just gave that a little bit of a nudge up. Perfect. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing on the right side. Throw a little bit of glue right on this little tab. Grab this piece, line it up. You can see that little round part at the top should match up with the little post on the actual fence. We can flip this down and just apply your glue right along the very bottom here, all the way out to the end. And we'll take that and press that down, just like that. There we go. Okay, and then finally, we have this little back piece here. And much like we did with the front, I'm going to begin by applying glue to the little tab. Then we'll take the left side of this, line that up with that tab. It's the same shape. Just hold that in place. Okay. And then we're going to try to do this in one fell swoop here. Apply maybe just a little bit of a thicker amount of glue on that little post, that little tab post. Spread that glue out. Spread it out. And let's close this up. Let's make sure that it's nice and flush with the bottom all the way through, and that it matches up with that little tab at the end as well. Perfect. Okay, super cool. All right, so now I'm going to flip this around, and we have this little guy here. It's going to go right here. You can see where the little markers are, so we can flip this around. This is going to go right out to the very edge of our base, as far as it'll go. You want it pretty much flush with the edge of the base, and then get this nice and centered, preferably right where the fence is. Press that down. Do not put glue on these little scallop pieces. Okay, and then we have this guy here, and I embossed this with some brick patterns. There's a little fold here that's going to go on the actual front of our base. Now you can see I embossed that. I just wanted to kind of see what it looked like, but I went with the brick instead. I knew it was going to be covered up, so I said whatever, it's fine. All right, and press that down, and then press the face of this down up against the face of the base, and we have our base ready for our Bewitched bungalow. Okay, so that's done. You can put that off to the side.